Is Marina Robertson from Norse Consulting, and she's going to take us through creating a low carbon skills economy. Marina, over to you.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, everyone. Before I start, I do talk a lot, so if I can ask Alex over there, who is in my team, to just give me a shout if I have just a wave, if you know what to do. So, hello everyone, my name is Marina Robertson. I'm a senior director in the Norse Group, responsible for consulting, and I manage partnerships and the strategic advisory services. The advisory includes housing, low carbon commissioning and delivery consulting, i.e. project management. But I don't want to confuse it with construction project management, and hence we call it delivery. The construction bit happens in another part of the business. So a little bit about me. You probably realize I'm not from around here. Hi Greg, nice to see you. It's been a while. I'm not from around here. I'm originally from Athens, Greece, but I've been here since 1991 when I came here to study environmental studies in what was at the time Humberside University, but now it has been combined with Lincoln. So I'm familiar with the north of England and the kind of the challenges it faces. I spent most of my career in London, working for London boroughs and also for Essex County Council, where I met Greg. In my spare time, I'm vice chair of Waltham Forest Housing Association, and I'm passionate about social housing and the life chances it provides to the most vulnerable in our society. I'm also studying towards an MBA, and it was that really that started made me think what a low carbon economy looks like, what the models were taught, the lenses through which we look at businesses. They don't take into account our future really. So I'm not here to provide any answers, but I am here to make a call for action, and I'll go through it in a sec. So have I messed up? That's better. I'm so proud of this yesterday, but it didn't come out. So 2050, zero carbon. Actually, it is really good that it is the way it is, because the numbers don't add up. So 77, this is the age I'm going to be when it's 2050. 28 is the age that the person that is born today is going to be in 2050, which means the person that is born today has no opportunity to influence what the economy looks like when the planet has to when humanity has to go without the majority of the fossil fuels we have been using. So I will reiterate this point later on towards the end, but there isn't really a lot of time, and hence the call for action. So what I decided to do, there is no framework for a low carbon skills economy. I tried to look for one. If you found one, please let me know, because I'm doing my MBA thesis on it. So I thought, why not? I'll do a bit of an A to Z and encourage a little bit of thinking. So A is for anthropology. So skills and knowledge associated with our economy are very much human-centered, anthropocentric. The studies are fascinating about how different generations have formed societies. However, future generations will not have the opportunity to look at anthropology the same way that we have been doing, because it will be severely affected by the way we interact with our environment and not necessarily in terms of small communities, but also mass food production, etc. I will carry on. B's for buyers. The thing is, the reason I put buyers there is sometimes we see a tension, and there is a tension, I believe, between doing what is right for a society and the most vulnerable, and what is right for the planet. And we have seen that at times when the priorities are to invest in infrastructure, diversity and inclusion takes a step back. And I think it is really important to be cognizant of that and ensure that any skill system we put in place has at the center of it diversity and inclusion. Actually, Ipsos Mori did a survey that showed that about half, before the pandemic, about 70% of people felt that equality was really important, and now 50% feel that equality is really important as part of how we shape our society. The other thing to consider is, with bias, is how we behave cognitively as humans. We are able to absorb 11 million pieces of information a minute, and we can only process 40 of those, which means our brain cuts corners and uses the experience we have and the knowledge we have to interpret what is happening around us. And I think that's something we need to take forward as we're looking for a low carbon skills economy. Right, C is for care. Why do I talk about care when we're talking about a skills economy? As you probably saw, I'm going to be 77 in 2050, if I'm alive by then. And if I've got my pension, who knows if I will. But nevertheless, the care is currently one of the biggest priorities this country is facing with regard to public sector spending. And again, when we're looking for a low carbon skills economy, it is worth understanding how we can shape care services to help absorb some of the pressures this country is facing. I've got lots of data here, but I will share that. These are all pictures. I will share that afterwards, a note that has data in it as well. This for design. I think John did a presentation just earlier on passive arts design. We can see that design plays a really key role in terms of the skills we need to effectively design our infrastructure for the future, but also design our future as well. Passive house obviously is not the only methodology, but it is one we recognize. And more importantly, it is one that our clients recognize. The issue we're having at the moment is not that we do not have innovative architects to use the materials and design techniques that will give us low carbon housing. The issue we have is our clients are not confident in the technologies to actually decide to go down a low carbon route. They're not confident on the viabilities, and that is compounded by the inflation increases we have seen. Right, E is for economics, land, labor, capital, enterprise. Karl Marx, Adam Smith, that's what they championed, the factors of production. Enterprise has been there for the last 50 years. It has been 139 years since the death of Karl Marx and 246 years since Adam Smith published The Wealth of Nations. And we use exactly the same factors of production today. Call to action, we beg the question, how do we change those? And how do we influence production of the future in the low carbon economy? This is not about only about creating a low carbon economy for beyond 2050. This is also about the skills that it takes to manage the transition. The thing with economics, I learned a model, well, actually the first time back in the 90s, Porter 5 forces model, and again more recently. Porter talks about competitive advantage and what it takes to enter market and leave the market and barriers to enter, etc. Nothing in there about the climate and the natural resources we need. So our models need to change to be able to allow businesses to work in a different kind of setting. There is also the principle of minimum differentiation, and some of you may know this. It is a principle that effectively means that Aldi will produce Caterpillar the same as Marks and Spencer's. People will choose to differ, businesses will choose to differ from each other as little as possible to attract a median customer. Which that is good news, because, and I will come to it in a sec, because actually if we have a critical mass of companies that work a certain way, others will choose to imitate them. There is something else I want to raise, but perhaps coming up later. Right, F is for the finance. So this is a ABC Limited. Don't shoot me, it is copied and pasted from Google Images, so I don't know who is ABC Limited. It is, we currently, although we report our carbon emissions, we do not currently have in our assets or liabilities the kind of carbon we hold or carbon we release. I think there is room for research in this area and to have more innovative ways to creating balance sheets for our companies. Right. Next. Right, I put geography there, and the reason for that is most of the colleagues work with in local government, planning, regeneration, environment, decarbonization, have had degrees in geography. And although I could have put G for globalization, actually geography provides the geography courses currently in universities, produce a lot of our planners, a lot of our designers, a lot of our environmentalists, and you know, sometimes unemployment, during unemployment times a lot of Uber drivers as well. So geopolitical changes will influence the way we work. We've seen how quickly gas lines were dropped from Russia, given the challenges, the tensions, the political tensions in Ukraine. Actually, it is unfair to call it tensions. It is the massacre that is happening in Ukraine at the moment. But we also see there are other elements we do not see. So electric cars use semiconductors. Semiconductors use silicon and germanium. Germanium is an element that exists naturally in the ground, and the biggest deposits of it are in Mongolia and Russia. So our ability to produce electric vehicles in the future will be affected by the relationships we have with different countries. And again, another tension appears here. Do we get germanium from, and I'm not using Mongolia as an example, but do we get germanium to fuel our electric vehicles from a country where we disagree with the methods of how it treats its citizens? Is this the right thing to do? Again, a lot of thought here, and as I said, I'm raising questions, not providing any answers, but I would like us all to work together, if we can, to find perhaps some of those and influence the way things are going. Right, so before the pandemic, H is for health. Before the pandemic, around 80% of people, this is Ipsos Mori, by the way, a 2022 survey, 80% of people felt that their physical health was more important than their mental health. In April this year, around 50% felt that. So the way we approach health is changing, not just in terms of the medical and the elements of it, but also distribution, those high carbon activities. Again, attention, what do we do when we need to save someone's life? Right, you may find it weird that I've got Instagram here, but this is very much about influencers. And although I can see a few young people in the audience today, which is lovely, quite a lot of us are around middle age. And there's a lot we can learn in terms of skills from the way influencers approach business and how they use that and social media to affect opinion. So again, if we're going to move forward with the low carbon skills economy and affect change, influencing skills are again right at the top. And again, call to action for anyone who is an expert on Instagram to come and help us push this cause forward. I'm not. Right, J's for jobs. The British Council states that people and skills are at the heart of the UK's economic prosperity. It gives people access to work, social mobility, it creates a more equal and healthy society. The intention of the UK skills system has three objectives. I'm reading out straight from the British Council website, so forgive me. To create citizens that are fully active in the labour market, to be appropriately qualified and have the skills to innovate and contribute to UK prosperity. Whether prosperity is what we're aiming for survival, that's a different story. However, these are sound objectives, and it would be interesting to do a piece of work to see if anything will change from those when we talk about the low carbon skills economy. A McKinsey report in February 2022, you know, McKinsey is the influencing American consultancy company, Norse Consulting, not right with McKinsey, so we're getting quite a lot of our insight from them. They do a lot of research. They say decarbonization will reshape the economy, opening new markets and new markets. Now is the moment for companies to spot green growth opportunities and move boldly to take advantage. This is good news. This means there will be more jobs. What this means, however, is we need to create jobs that pay in similar levels as fossil fuel jobs do, so we can attract the right people in those roles. Case for knowledge, reconstituting the knowledge economy in the education system, as you probably gathered from the amount of time we've got between now and 2050 is really critical, and we need to start with as early as possible. On my MBA, there are elements of sustainability in it that we study, but it is very much a bolt-on rather than at the heart of how businesses will be run in the future. It is also really important to enhance literacy in carbon, to know, for example, that a bag of cement is kilo for kilo. It produces a kilo of CO2 for a kilo of cement, and it is the third most polluting, not most highest carbon material. There is a book called How Much Are Bananas? Something like that, I've got that home, and it goes and sets out all the carbon footprint. How bad are bananas? The carbon footprint for everyday materials. So it says a burger as opposed to a veggie burger, and a banana over an avocado, etc. I won't preach anyone what to eat, but it is very interesting. Right, Alice for law. Now, I could have used different words for all those letters, or I could have said L is for Love Island. What you see on here is a Love Island themed campaign from Barking and Dagenham Council. If you haven't seen the video clip and you don't know it, it's pure gold. Please go and have a look on the website. And the point I'm trying to make here is that we see environmental crime, fly tipping, and extra days. So we're either destroying an ocean or we fly tip a paper cup. It doesn't seem in the media that there is anything in between in terms of environmental crime. And I think it is really important to talk to our legal professionals to see how the system will change, and also how the penal system will change. Will distribution channels change with regard to how prisons are populated across the country? Will people, for example, just be at home instead of a prison? It has felt like that for a few of us over the last 3 years or so. I'm being flippant, but I think it is really important to recognize the gap in the media between the fly tipping and actually the creating oil spills and ruining the Amazon. M is for math. I'm a little bit of a geek. I'm not very good at math, but I'm a little bit of a geek. So flying the flag for geeks here. Math is a wonderful science, and it produces a lot of knowledge around how our world works, how algorithms work, and how our society works, and innovation around managing information and data in a way that can influence our future economy. So it plays a really important role. So math literacy, again, is, as a skill and knowledge, is really important. Neuroscience. There has been quite a lot of talk recently about how we relate to each other as humans, and I think we need to take that into account when we develop frameworks for learning and education as we go forward. How I mentioned the example earlier about our brain actually absorbing 11 million pieces of information, only processing 40. We need to be aware of that, things like that, because then from this it comes our understanding of bias and how it works. The other thing that is really key is neurodiversity. There goes the times where someone was autistic and not autistic are actually now fading, because there are all those elements of the spectrum that people have started to be recognized and diagnosed with, that we need to take into account when we're designing a new skill system. Right, O is for optimism. And the reason I wanted to, optimism is not a skill, but is an attitude. And we have to believe that we can do this, because otherwise there's no point starting, right? So we have to remain optimistic. As I said earlier, after all, decarbonization is a really big business. Actually, McKinsey believed that the shift towards investing capital in low carbon businesses has started to happen. And at present, around 65% of annual capital spending goes into high emissions assets. But in a scenario where the world reaches net zero in 2050, McKinsey analysis suggests that this pattern would reverse with 70% instead of low emissions assets investment. So, as I was taught in 1992 by the hippie lecturer in university, money talks, and actually if you can make an economic argument to change behaviors, then that's where you should start first. And clearly, big companies have started to realize that investment in decarbonization technology will give returns in the future. So great, we have to have great optimism. How am I doing, Alex? 10 minutes. Good. Right, P's for professional bodies. I'm late to RICS. I passed my through the senior professional route last May. I never had to do it in my career, but working in consulting, it does help. And what gave me doing it a little bit later in my career and having the opportunity to read through so much and do so much CPD gave me a bit of an insight on the materials that exist, especially on RICS. And the reality is there is very little on sustainability and low carbon in our professional standards, very little. And if there is there, it is a bolt-on again. So the Red Book, for example, for valuations, although I got my ICS recently, I have been a surveyor and a planner for a long time in local government. The Red Book for valuations does not mention anything around the kind of characteristics we expect to see in properties that we value. Our approach to how we develop our professions need to change, and I think we have quite a lot of people in the room with influence to help start a conversation to make that happen. Because again, we don't have time. It is the RICS and the RIBA members of today that will actually make the difference for 2050. It is not the people that are born today. Q is for quality. The reason I put quality in is because equality is effectively meeting someone's needs through a product or a service. So it doesn't matter how good it is, if it meets the person's needs, it is a quality product. However, in our society, quality is also associated with choice. So a supermarket with greater choice is a higher quality supermarket than a supermarket with lower choice. We'd rather go to Waitrose if we can afford it than Lidl. Why? Because we can buy the artisan bread, perhaps, that we cannot buy in Lidl. That is a problem for our future, and seeing quality as choice will create issues, because the more products we have, the more production methods we will use, the more natural resources we will need. It is something that's what circular economy is all about. And actually, Alex and I have been in debate over a few months about what a circular economy looks like for the consulting business, and we haven't got to the bottom of it, but it is something that troubles us really. Re-is for engineering, and the reason I say re-engineering is because the ego is taken, and I wanted to put engineering in there. It could be for renewables or other stuff, but I have a soft spot for engineers. And I think these are the kinds of skills. I've got someone in my team who's an engineer, Paul Gogoday. He's just sitting there. He's an expert on low carbon engineering. Because those are skills that are so valuable for the future, and we should be directing more apprenticeships and more STEM education towards engineering, because renewables will be the answer. We're running out of fossil fuels. I will try to speed up. S for sharing. Imagine a world where nobody owns low carbon technology. It just belongs to everyone, like the World Wide Web. We can just get on with it, can't we? Instead of messing about with who owns what. There is a big company, construction company, I will not mention the name. They have developed a network of small firms that innovate on low carbon solutions. It's in construction. It is a closed network. So all the innovation that comes out of them goes to serve that single large construction company. As a sector, we need to change and share more and understand that actually we're going to do this we cannot own information on how we can achieve low carbon. Not a single person, it belongs to humanity. Tips for tech, obviously, digital literacy is so important for the future. I don't know if you've heard of it, but through my MBA, I discovered what is called the Gartner Report, and I've got a picture of it here. And what it does, it shows across different areas what kind of technology is out there, from inception and prototyping all the way to actually delivering it on the ground and that working. And one of the things they're saying will be really important for the future in tech is automation in production and having operational managers, and that's why math is important, having the ability to deal with algorithms competently enough to streamline production processes and reduce the use of natural resources and materials. Again, a very interesting subject for research. I wish I had the rest of my life to do all these PhDs, but it is worth keeping in mind what are the latest trends in terms of technology, along with AI, of course. I don't know if anyone went to see this play. It was playing in the Bridge Theatre by City Hall in London, and it was interesting to see Ray Fiennes play a town planner. It was the first time I think I went to the theatre that the whole audience were architects and planners and surveyors. It was I don't know if it was a bit of a surreal experience, but U is for urbanism. Not only there was a huge shift in the way our urban spaces work when we had Amazon and online shopping. That was a big thing we were talking about in the notice, how online shopping has changed the high streets. And then guess what? The pandemic happened. How has the pandemic changed the high street? How do we have now different uses, and how do we design urban centres, town centres that are actually neighbourhood focused? The Levelling Up Bill, whatever you think of it, it does take away development management powers, policy powers away from local authorities and centralises them. Although the NPPF introduces back neighbourhood planning powers for those neighbourhood planning bodies. That means one thing: the people that have the skills in local authorities, the planners, cannot influence the development of town centres, and the people that will do not have the skills because they're not planners. And where the power lies is now the government, because the intention is that they will centralise development management policies. There is a series of podcasts on this. Please go away if you are interested, find out more about it, and give me a call to discuss it, because I'm absolutely fascinated on the impact the different elements of the bill and the supplementary papers will make for our town centres. V's for volunteering. The thing is, I am very lucky. I work for an employer that allows me to volunteer part of my work, and for that reason I can be on the board of a housing association, and I can do other work. But volunteering has to be a skills inducing and skills producing activity that needs to be recognised by the economy, so that people can devote time on the things that are more passionate about. Everyone wishes they manage to get paid from a job that they're passionate about, but not everyone is passionate about their jobs. So harnessing that passion that people have is really important to create that low carbon skills economy and also generate productivity. That's me. No, it's not. I've got I don't have a car, but this has been all of us probably for the last few years. And again, you will have sat through various talks like this and probably given them yourselves and heard podcasts about how the world of work has changed. And you know what it has. And we need to take that into account when we're developing our skills base. Employers have a responsibility to create apprenticeships that are targeting the low skills economy, but also, as I said earlier, to create the time for people to pursue those areas of work that are more passionate about. Mental health, again, we talked about it, a big issue in the work today. And again, I would be very interested to talk a little bit more about what a future place looks like for work. I've heard this expression that say work is no longer a place, it's just a workplace, and the workplace could be anywhere. And definitely in Norse Consulting, I mean, my team there were completely agile. We are a burden to everyone we go to, because I moved from Waltham Forest Council to Peterborough City Council, to Norfolk County Council, and various Starbucks and McDonald's along the motorways. But it is changing, and we just need to think about how that will work. There is a big step change. We have seen a huge reduction in the use of our assets in the Norse Group, and we have seen huge reduction in mileage. It has started to pick up, but nobody thinks that it will ever go back to how it used to be. So let's use this opportunity to change how we work. And how we incentivize travel, for example, there is, I think, Leeds City Council give travel mileage for bikers. I don't mean bikers, I mean for people that use bicycles, for cyclists. And we give very little mileage, because we give 45 PM mileage, Marseille mileage to our staff that travel. The people that have electric cars get a fraction of that. So we need to change the way we approach how we incentivize travel for work. X marks the spot. Try to find a word with an X. I've got the Greek one, which is xenophobia, and it is perhaps relevant in a low carbon skills economy. But what I didn't want to miss from this presentation is our ability to focus on priorities, and just be so much A to Z here, just inciting a little bit of a conversation and debate. How much work is there to be done? So we just need to focus on a few things that will make a difference. Again, I don't know the answers, and I would like your help to get at least some of them and maybe influence them. I labeled the point around youth and the impact that will have on their lives. Actually, it is today's teenagers that need to influence everything we're doing in terms of how we're designing skills for a low carbon economy, because they will be in work and employment when I'm 77. It won't be me, well, hopefully. But it is really important that we include young people in the way we shape our frameworks for education and learning. If you think X is a difficult letter to find word, Z is an even more difficult one. But there is a word in Greek that starts with Z, and that is zoe, which means life. Effectively, there is no plan B. We have one life. This is our life. This is our chance to make an impact for our generation, and this is it. It will be us, and probably the generation just before us, and that's it. We will get to 2050 without having had the opportunity to create an economy where people can use skills to work and function and thrive in a society where the availability of fossil fuels will just not be there. I won't go through again. So I would like to use, I'm speaking to a few people at the moment. I'm speaking to CAPD. I'm speaking to ex-colleagues. I've got an ex-colleague in HS2 who is the skills manager, ex-colleagues in local authorities, and I would like your help to come together and form a think tank about how we can influence the shaping of a skills economy. You will have my contact information, the pack. Feel free to drop me a line, give me a call, And I would like to set up perhaps an informal, something more informal, to debate some of these ideas and perhaps create some priorities to lobby institutions and government for the shift in how we approach skills in our economy. Right, I didn't want to come to this first. This is not a sales pitch, but a little bit about the Norse Group. Most of you know it. We do advisory, estates, partnerships and design, our core business lines. I manage advisory and partnerships, and there, as I said earlier, we do low carbon advisory, delivery advisory for clients that require help shaping their programs, commissioning advisory, a huge area of work at the moment because the skills are just not there in the contractors. So being able to use supply chain systems, really, really key to just be able to deliver infrastructure. And a little bit about our values, it will be on your pack. And that's it from me. I hope I've done okay, Alex. I'm not too bad, hopefully. I don't know if you have any questions.
What we will do, we'll have a question and answer session later, so keep a note of all those questions that you've got also for Ron and John from earlier as well. Marina, thank you very much for that, really appreciate it. Very interesting presentation, thank you.